Today's episode of this anime begins with Macron casting a magical strike towards Mash. As the magical ball approaches Mash's hand, he feels as if it's a very heavy bowling ball, and he predicts that Mash won't be able to return the throw and will collide with the wall. Indeed, Mash collides with the wall and disappears. Everyone wonders where he is, and suddenly, Mash comes from behind Macron, grabs him from the back, and flies him upwards. He then uses the spinal column magic and drops Macron down. Everyone is amazed to see Macron completely unharmed, and the battle supervisor informs us that before crashing, Macron created a sound cushion, so he wasn't harmed. He questions whether anyone will criticize Macron for naming a throw a magical enchantment. Then, we see Macron using the magic wand and casting the Nalco's spell on Mash. But Mash avoids it. Macron tries again and launches several attacks on Mash, but Mash successfully dodges all of them, as Mash is about to deliver a powerful blow to Macron. Macron turns to him and positions his magic wand close to Mash, surprising everyone, because if Macron were to use his magic so close to Mash, it would be fatal. However, the surprise is that Macron didn't use any magic. He asks Mash if he's protecting something, to which Mash pulls out a piece of bread, and Macron tells him that if Mash has something to protect, they can't fight with all their might, asking him to set the bread aside. Then the girl comes and takes the bread from Mash. Then we see the audience becoming increasingly nervous as the match becomes more and more intense. Veen asks where that trivial clash was from, and Dot informs him that he wants to reclaim those wasted seconds, saying to Lance that both Mash and Macron haven't shown their fangs yet and are still testing each other. Then we see the head of the academy and his assistant, where they tell us that Macron's secondary magic will give him the advantage. But if both parties fight with all their might, the match will end very quickly. We return to the battle between Macron and Mash as they prepare to fight. Macron starts using his musical magic, releasing sound waves towards Mash. When Mash prepares to block the attack and strikes with his hand, it doesn't affect anything and passes through Mash, causing blood to come out of his ear. Macron tells him not to underestimate his enchantments, as they are something a punch can't knock down. He then uses his musical magic again, directing multiple strikes with sound waves towards Mash, who starts bleeding from his mouth and ear. Mash says he can't defend against Macron's attacks. Macron then uses the surrounding sound orchestra, and we see a halo of magic surrounding him and Mash. Explosions emerge from the ground, and many musical instruments appear. When those instruments start producing very loud music, the ground begins to shake, and a very intense explosion occurs. We see Mash's friends, who are very worried about him. Then we see the assistant to the head of the academy, saying that Macron is very powerful and didn't need this fight to end this duel. Suddenly, Mash emerges from under the ground, grabs Macron by his leg and drags him down, burying him and leaving only his head exposed. Mash comes out and tells Macron that it's impossible for him to have done this without the occurrence of resistance. Then we see Veen talking to himself, saying he's seen this before. Just before Macron cast his spell, Mash dug into the ground and submerged himself. When the sound waves fluctuated, his vibration within the earth reduced his exposure to obstacles. He wonders if diving underground dampened the sound. Then we return to the battle between Mash and Macron, where Mash surprises everyone by using the quadruple-headed muscle magic, delivering a very powerful kick to Macron's face, sending him flying and astonishing everyone with Mash's strength as he took down Macron with just one blow, making him an amazing hero. Mash then leaps with a powerful jump and lunges at Macron, striking him with such force that dust is everywhere, with Mash hitting him like a machine gun firing bullets. All his friends are amazed at Mash's strength, while the assistant director watches this scene and remarks that Mash understands everything, as he knows his opponent's strength well. Then Mash jumps backward, enraging Macron, who now uses the sound-shedding magic, causing many things to appear in the sky and bringing radical changes to Macron. In the end, we see him as if he were a child with hair as well. Mash's transformation of Macron into this form shows his immense strength and that he's a worthy opponent, leaving everyone astonished at Macron's transformation. The scene then shifts to this boy, Ryo-san, sitting and wondering about the outcome of the match. But at that moment, this boy with orange hair enters and tells him there's trouble. He heard reports indicating that Innocent Zero has moved again. Rayo remembers this scene when Mash was standing and the haunted man saying, "We are Innocent Zero and that this boy belongs to them," referring to Mash. As we return to reality, Rayo says they're after Mash, so he asks for immediate security assistance. He mentions they currently need Ortur and Kaldu and Easton to buy some time. Then the scene shifts back to the battlefield, where Macron approaches Mash and affects him with musical sounds, causing Mash to shiver and fall to the ground as his friends scream in concern. Seeing Macron becoming incredibly fast, Mash attempts to punch him, but Macron avoids it. Mash keeps searching left and right for him, but doesn't find him until he looks up in the stands and spots him. Macron then descends rapidly towards Mash and kicks him hard, sending him to the ground. Mash rises from the ground, realizing that Macron is now relying on his muscles just like he does. However, Macron tells him he's not depending on that. Macron moves at an incredibly fast speed and continues to strike Mash with powerful blows in every move. Meanwhile, the president contemplates Macron's magic, which allows him to move through sound, meaning he moves at the speed of sound, and trying to catch him without magic would require moving faster than the speed of sound. Then we see Macron still moving and striking Mash until he throws him to the ground in his final blow. Everyone is shocked by what's happening as Macron's attack hits Mash when he hears. After that, we see Mash placing his hand on this wall. Then Macron uses the sound magic again and swiftly attacks Mash, thinking he finally got him. But when the moment comes to strike, Mash manages to escape quickly from this place, stunning everyone with his. Suddenly, Mash appears behind Macron, making the president understand that Mash utilized the properties of sound transmission, as sound travels faster in liquids than in gases, and even faster in solid materials. When Mash touched the wall, he felt the sound slightly faster than the attack's arrival, but his extraordinary natural reflexes saved him. After that, Macron attempts to use the power of sound, but he is surprised by the presence of tartar sauce, so he can't emit any sound. Then Lance thinks to himself that he has no idea how things will turn out from here. But Macron has his secondary magic, and he never feels comfortable unless he sees Macron in a moment of weakness. Macron speaks with Mash, acknowledging him as a worthy opponent. Then he proceeds to use his secondary. Macron uses his magic, astonishing everyone. Mash asks, "What is this?" Macron responds saying this will render anyone who hears it powerless. Consider it a death knell. Within a minute, it will emit a resonating sound covering a 2-kilometer radius. The only way to stop it is by taking my magic wand from me. You must catch me while I move at the speed of sound within a minute, or else you lose. Veen comments that Mash is incredibly fast. Dot says, "Shouldn't we intervene since we're within the 2-kilometer range?" Lance replies, "The only positive thing is that he's limited to the arena, but if he faces an opponent who flees, he can't use the same tactic he used earlier. You're in a very difficult situation, Mash." Then we see Macron using his magic and moving at an extremely fast speed, beyond Mash's reach. Macron says, "There's no use against you." Dot shouts, "Time is ticking." Macron starts counting down, and Mash's friends are very worried about it. Macron says, "You have less than 10 seconds left." Then we see Mash using his strength, placing his hand on the ground, breaking it, and pulling out a large rock, which he throws at Macron. And indeed, Mash uses his bare hands to uproot the earth to hinder Macron. Then, Mash penetrates the rock barrier he pulled from the ground. Macron considers his escape options, either to the right or to the left. Realizing that Mash's reactions won't suffice to face him, they move to the right, imagining they've distanced themselves enough from Mash, making it impossible for him to reach them without considerable effort. Suddenly, Mash grabs Macron's cloak, firmly with just his pinky finger, then swiftly pulls him and throws him to the ground, taking his wand and smashing it. At that moment, the giant bell disappears, indicating Mash has won the sound chase, and he's now one step closer to the title of Sky Illuminator. Macron acknowledges defeat, amazed by Mash's abilities without using magic. And Mash's friends shed tears of joy for his victory and overcoming the biggest obstacle before him. Everyone congratulates him on this triumph, and the Academy director laughs with joy, commenting on the unexpected defeat of Macron without using magic. Suddenly, a terrifying force shakes the ground, frightening everyone. Suddenly, the sky cracks open and a large dragon emerges, ridden by these individuals. It becomes clear that Innocent Zero is here, surprising everyone with his presence. He uses a magical spell, freezing everything around him, rendering everything unable to move. Then he descends to Mash, as he's been searching for him for a long time. He approaches him and touches him, unable to believe he's found him alive, saying he felt despair that he might never get him back. His beloved son and the apple of his eye. He begins a magical ritual to perform this fusion he's talking about. But suddenly, the academy director appears and tells him, "I won't hand you that boy, Innocent Zero, just like that." After witnessing Mash's triumph over the mighty Macron, Innocent Zero becomes jealous of the place and what Mash called his son and the apple of his eye. So, what does this mean? We'll find out in the next episode, so stay tuned. But please, we ask you to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to receive all the latest updates.